you for having me.
Glad to have. All right, listen. Now we'll get to Floyd here in a minute, but just how big is this fight, Wilder Fury? It feels as big to me as some of the Tyson fights when he got out of jail. There was a lot of excitement and hype.
It's a huge, huge event. You have two major entities coming together, Fox and ESPN. The promotion has been incredible. You've seen all the ads and all the commercials everywhere. There's a tremendous buzz all over the city and around the nation. It's a huge fight.
Yeah, now let's see how we can convert that buzz into buys. As I'm standing next to a guy who runs Floyd's Productions. Top 3 pay-per-views all time. Floyd is involved in all 3 of those. Where do you think this is going to land in terms of magnitude of buys, pay-per-views, and also after effect?
Well, it depends because times have changed. There's this thing called piracy. So there's so many opportunities out there that people have, illegally streamed the pay-per-views. So it just depends. The promotion behind this event has been incredible. Both guys have done an incredible job with promoting this event. And again, I think it's a huge, huge event.
Leonard, you tweeted something, I think today or yesterday. I asked Tyson Fury a question about the racial element because boxing has generally leaned into, when there's a black fighter and a white fighter, they've leaned into that. They haven't done that in this fight. Why?
Well, you have two guys who have two big personalities. And their accomplishments in the ring speaks for themselves. So I don't think race is a part of this particular fight. You have seen it has been in other fights, but in this particular fight, you have two classy individuals who are great self-promoters, and they've done a phenomenal job with promoting this event thus far.
So let's skip ahead to Saturday night. How do you see going from the first fight to the second fight when he gets knocked down, he gets back up, he's pretty much outboxing the whole fight? How do you see Deontay making adjustments to make this fight a little easier for him, and/or Fury making adjustments to making the fight easier for him?
Actually, I have Wilder knocking him out early. He made the necessary adjustments the second half of the fight. Fury, he was outboxing him early in the fight, but Deontay, he saw some things and he made some slight adjustments in the fight. And I actually have him stopping him pretty early in this fight because he's been in there and he's experienced his power and he sees what he brings to the table. And in Fury's case, he's also seen the same things. But I think going into this fight, Wilder has a tremendous advantage.
We're talking about two undefeated heavyweights in their prime, fighting each other in their prime. And then we talk about where will they land in terms of history and lore. You being with the champ, the best ever TBE, these guys have a chance to really climb that mountain and maybe Mount Rushmore in terms of heavyweights? Any of these guys?
Yes, I think over a period of time, there are a number of other heavyweights out there that make for big fights. But Deontay has a mission, one name, one face, one champion. And I think that he'll go out there and he'll come out on top on Saturday night. And I think he'll do it in devastating fashion.
Leonard, you and Floyd carried boxing for a long time. But nothing lifts boxing more than heavyweights and a big heavyweight fight. So I'm saying a rising tide lifts all boats. If this fight is what we think it can be, do you see all of boxing benefiting and every boxer in every class benefiting from a great fight on Saturday?
Well, I have to tend to disagree with you slightly on that. Floyd, he put the entire sport on his back for almost a decade and a half.
Yep. He can't lift as much weight as a heavyweight, though.
But it's okay. He was making that heavyweight money.
Green print.
That's all that matters, huh?
That's all that matters. The first boxer ever to make over $1 billion in the sport. And just
Floyd was
incredible.
great for Floyd.
Yeah.
I'm talking about these guys could benefit everybody, though, maybe in a way Floyd couldn't.
Well, Jason, how do you think the fighters are making the record persons that they make now? Floyd Mayweather's the one that went out there and established the blueprint. He controlled the landscape. He put the entire sport on his back. He showed the fighters that there were no longer two promoters in the sport who controlling the sport. He showed the fighters that you could take an active interest, you could create your own brand and your own business, And when you go out and generate the money, you can become the banker.
And because
Floyd,
of what
hold on for 1 second. If Floyd were a heavyweight, though, could he have done more? I mean, come on now, keep it real. Heavyweights carry the game.
Again, that
Knockout.
would
I don't know. Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard. You could go all different weight classes at different times have really carried the torch. And Floyd, you talking about the boat that rose the tide. It was Floyd Mayweather who brought the currency to the game that was heavyweight, to the point where some people are still speculating, is he coming back? So is Floyd making a comeback since they're giving away this money now?
He changed the entire landscape. Again, he generated the revenue. His events were Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Generated revenue like the Super Bowl. There's no other fighter been able to do that. And it has benefited all the fighters now because, again, each and every fighter out there, they're making record purses now. Again, there were two promoters Bob and Don, who were controlling the sport. And Floyd changed the entire mindset of the fighters, and everyone's winning now.
I love you, CEO, but I said, is Floyd making a comeback? Because all this money out here, baby.
Well, you never know with Money Mayweather. You never know. I think his vision is that if there's a big event and there's a reason for him to do something, like what he kind of talked about before.
McGregor? Khabib?
Who knows? Anything's possible.
Because of what you just said, all the things you just said, does Mayweather have a point about being athlete of the decade over LeBron?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I have the utmost respect for what Bron and his entire team has done for their sport and done for the community and, as a whole. But when you talk about the accomplishments and what Floyd has been able to do over 2 decades, Floyd Mayweather is definitely the fighter of the decade. Athlete of the decade.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to be clear on this because I think people think I don't want you to think I'm trying to diminish Floyd. I'm not. It takes mass to move mass, though. We know that about weightlifting and just all of that. I'm not trying to. I think it's great what Floyd has done. And the point you made about breaking the chains that Don King and other promoters had control over the game, I think that is truly Floyd's legacy in terms of giving the fighters their independence. I just think he could have done more if he were a heavyweight.
If he were bigger.
Well, he just happened. He happened to be a five-division world champion and broke all the records. So it is what it is. We're thankful that in my eyes he's TBE.
Let's go back to this fight. Do you buy? Because I don't. I don't buy this deal that Tyson Fury's selling, that he's going to try for an early knockout and that he's coming in heavier because he wants to knock Deontay Wilder out. I don't buy that. I think he wants to duplicate the last fight and just not get knocked down.
Well, it would be to his advantage to box, to box from a distance. Because if he gets within range, we already know that missile, what's going to happen with that missile. And Deontay Wilder and his team have a plan, and they're looking to get him out of there, and I think it'll happen pretty early. And in Tyson's case, I've read a lot of comments that where he wants to press the action early, but in my opinion, he'll be at a disadvantage.
All talk.
Hey, the champ is here, Deontay, but I do want to give you a chance to talk about your next great fighter, Gervonta Tank Davis. Tell us about him.
Gervonta Davis, exceptional young fighter. Just recently, there was an incident, and it was a terrible incident a couple weeks ago at the Super Bowl. He made a terrible mistake. We don't condone those kind of things.
Put his hands on a young lady. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And was very, very apologetic about it when I had spoke with him. And again, he had made a terrible mistake, and we talked about it and came up with some measures to make better decisions, when you get put in the situation. And it's about education and working with the young fighters and not putting themselves in those kind of situations and just learning from your mistakes and becoming a better person, a better father, because he has a daughter himself. And we talked about setting a positive example, being a young role model for the youth that's out there. So he's looking to changed some things in his life, and we're behind him 100%, and I'm looking forward to next steps.
Thank you, Leonard, for being
My
here.
man.
The champ, Deontay Wilder, is in the building. Coming up, the time has come. The champ is here. Deontay Wilder joins to look ahead to his rematch with Tyson Fury.